Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and these are the market positions for May the 13th, 2010. Now our first position tonight is going to be again in the foreign exchange market. We're looking at this Australia-New Zealand currency pair. For anybody watching the live webinar, trading webinar this morning, we're going to continue to proceed with this. We can see here that we now have the short-term crossover has made its cross to the upside. The predicted TSI from Vantage Point running flat along heavily oversold territory, starting to turn positive. We have the medium and the long-term differences also turning positive. This is again a counter trend position, but there's a number of other indicators here that are suggesting that this is going to go higher. Now, if the predicted differences and the strength indicators were not where they were, and we just simply had a short-term crossover and none of these other indicators supported this, we would not be going long here. But because we're in heavily oversold territory, everything looks good for this thing to move higher, we are going to get into that position. So with that said, we're now going to go in, have a look at the daily report from Vantage Point. Very important now to look at our predicted high and our predicted low for tomorrow. So we can see here that after multiple days of with the zero meaning as the neural index, a very powerful indicator from Vantage Point. Clearly, excuse me, the last multiple days here for weeks has been zero. We've now just turned to a 1. Our high tomorrow 125.63, our low 124.97. We can see here that our predicted short-term differences has now turned positive. However, predicted medium and long-term differences are still negative. So 124.97 is our entry point where we're looking to get into a buy position based on the neural index and based on the fact that we're heavily oversold. Now, looking closer at this, the question now comes, can it go a little higher than 125.96? Well, in my opinion, yes it can. So now I'm going to go in, put the triple EMA crossover back up so everybody can see this. Now, using the triple EMA crossover, we can identify major levels of, in this particular case, resistance, because we have this crossover that's taken place to the downside. We then fell off this 130.50 level all the way down to the 124. These three green candlesticks here represent a positive day. So we've had 3 consecutive positive days. Now, what we want to identify though is the major resistance level. That comes in at 127.06. Now, I've repeatedly talked about this. The further the market moves away from that area, the more likely it is to retrace to that area. Maybe just corrective in nature, or it could be a reversal. But either way, we're likely to target somewhere between the 8-day predicted moving average and the 18-day predicted moving average. That comes in between 125.77 and 127.06. So a realistic target, guys, here, potentially the 126.20, 126.30 area. We should be able to get that. So, you know, for the more conservative traders, you can probably look to exit your position near that predicted high. But again, with these indicators being heavily oversold, we've got the short-term crossover. A number of indicators tell us that this is going to go higher. Now, our second position tonight, we're going to look at the natural gas contracts. Again, we talked about this at the beginning of the week. This trade is actually moving along. We've closed at 428. We've hit a high today of 429. Again, the 18-day predicted moving average coming in at 411, 8-day coming in at 413, and 419 on the 3-day. Now, the point of interest here, the predicted 3-day exponential moving average from Vantage Point has crossed over the 8-day and the 18-day. Our strength indicator, our medium-term difference, and our long-term difference have all turned positive. The predicted true strength indicator from Vantage Point has crossed over to the upside just above the zero line. All of this points to potentially a trending move. Now, again, we've been running below here. We've been running flat essentially for about a week, but it looks like the natural gas contracts, the E-mini natural gas contracts, and probably a number of ETFs related to those will probably start moving higher. So let's go in, have a look at the predicted highs, predicted lows for tomorrow. When trading the directly on the natural gas contracts, buy positions is definitely what we're looking at. We can see here the predicted short, medium, and long-term differences, all positive, 418.6 and 438.5. We've closed at 428, so we're looking for a very shallow pullback for tomorrow to the 418 area. From there, we're going to be looking for a move up to the $4.38 mark at least. Now, by looking at the way that this is setting up, this also suggests to me that we could be looking at a continuation of this more recent move here. So, that's definitely something we want to consider. Now, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to pull this back for a moment here. Now, by moving this to a 6-month time frame using the Vantage Point software, we can see that the natural gas contracts have spent a considerable amount of time up in this 4.80 to $6 range. This is so now if this crossover, if it could complete again from Vantage Point in those natural gas contracts, natural gas ETF based funds, all of those should start moving higher once this crossover completes. So, it's always good to just back it out a little bit and have a look at the broader, the broader trend here. Now, what I'm also going to do and see just to help us one step further to see if this trend is going to continue, I'm going to go into the short, the medium, and the long-term crossover. So the short-term crossover is crossed over about May the 5th or so. We're going to look at the medium-term crossover, see if it's starting to warm up to the idea. We can see that that also has taken place. Now the long-term crossover, not so sure about that one, but let's have a look here. Well, you know what, guys, we've got this long-term crossover that's just taken place the other day when I recommended this trade. That's starting to progress, so everything looks good for the natural gas contracts to continue to move higher. I suspect we'll probably move back towards that 550 area by the mid to late next week. So hopefully that all works out. Those are the positions for, again, May the 13th, 2010. And my name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com.